Welcome to the ultimate Gen Z nostalgia iceberg. That's right, we're still doing this series. I'm not gonna waste your time, let's just get right into it. Shallow Waters. Addicting Games. This entry is likely referring to addictinggames.com, which was an old Flash game hosting website, not unlike other ones on this list. Of course, this website was visited by tons of kids since it had a pretty awesome selection of free online games and a large variety of sketchy ads to go along with it. If you remember, you remember, it got kinda inappropriate. Blue Bunny Ice Cream. This one's pretty self-explanatory. Blue Bunny is a company who produces some pretty good ice cream. This is here because a lot of kids ate Blue Bunny ice cream growing up, which makes it super nostalgic nowadays. I think their most memorable ice cream was definitely their character pops, with ice cream versions of Sonic the Hedgehog, Batman, Scooby-Doo, the Ninja Turtles, Bugs Bunny, and many, many more. They're such a staple of late 90s and early 2000s, and they're just great. They're pretty hard to find nowadays, being only found in ice cream trucks, so it's always such a treat to find a truck and, well, buy one. Ray William Johnson. Ray William Johnson is a YouTuber best known for his weekly video series Equals 3. Ray was once on top of the website since his content was really fun and engaging. Equals 3 was essentially the 2000s equivalent to Daily Dose of the Internet in a sense. On the show, Ray basically just showed a bunch of funny viral clips and made jokes about them. Some of the jokes don't really age too well nowadays, but honestly I still enjoy rewatching some Equals 3. Ray still makes videos to this day in the form of YouTube Shorts. In these videos he'll respond to one specific video that's usually a TikTok and make jokes about it. Pretty similar to the Equals 3 days. He also had a guerrilla-style band by the name of Your Favorite Martian. This cartoon band was pretty awesome at the time and had some absolute bangers. These are really products of their time, and some of them wouldn't really fly today, but that's kind of part of their charm in a weird way. Songs like the Stereotype Song, Douchebag, Zombie Love Song, and Orphan Tears are still pretty fun to listen to, and the animations to go alongside them are very charming. The Your Favorite Martian YouTube channel sat abandoned after Ray and Maker Studios struck out. So Maker Studios took over and started producing Your Favorite Martian and ended up having a really bad deal with Ray, so he was basically like, screw this, I'm out, and they were like, well, we own your characters, you can't do anything anymore with it. So the name was changed to This Project is Retired and sat unused for years until October of 2021 when a bunch of old deleted songs were re-uploaded and the profile picture for the channel was restored. Unfortunately, this wasn't a return for the band. In spring of 2022, Your Favorite Martian has been officially returned. Maker Studios is gone, there's no more association with Disney, and they got the old animation studio back. So far, while I'm writing this, they've got 2 sequels to Orphan Tears out, and they're just as good as they used to be. I'm very excited to see Your Favorite Martian return. I'm glad to have him back. iDog. The iDog was a series of really cool little iPod speaker dogs. The toys would react and move to the music that you played, and just overall had a super cool and futuristic look to them. I personally remember seeing them all over the place, but I never had an iPod growing up, so I never asked for one. Nowadays, looking back at these things brings me right back to the 2000s, in the best of ways. There were tons of different types of iDogs, including different animals, and Spider-Man, so there was a lot of variety. If you hold the iDog up to today's standards, it's not very impressive, but at the time this thing was incredibly cool. I miss iPods, so much to the point where I used to have my own iPod 5.5 that barely had any of its original internals just because they would break and I'd replace them. It was a Frankenstein's monster iPod, it was great. I used it on a daily basis and dropped it pretty frequently, but it still survived until one fatal drop. Now I use one by Elite Obsolete Electronics, which I would highly recommend. Not sponsored, but just good products. 2 Girls, 1 Cup. Alright, so I'm going to be really brief about this one since the subject matter is disgusting and I don't really think anyone wants to learn about it. But of course, if you know, you know. The video was a really popular shock video that made its way around the internet as a challenge of sorts. Basically, you had to watch the video and try not to vomit or turn the video off. I'm gonna mark this as do not research, but I know that you guys are gonna just watch it anyway, but just know that I tried to warn you. Don't watch this video, it's just, it's straight up disgusting. You don't gain anything by watching it. Well, I guess the only thing that you would gain is a bunch of awful memories, but nothing good. So, just don't. Schoolhouse Rock. Schoolhouse Rock was a really cute cartoon that started airing in 1973, but had multiple iterations throughout the years. The show was set to teach kids grammar in a fun and engaging way, and did exactly that. This is a very cross-generational nostalgic thing since it aired for so many years. Battle for Dream Island. Battle for Dream Island, or BFDI, is a series of cartoons on YouTube that featured a bunch of anthropomorphic inanimate items that battled each other for a luxurious place known as Dream Island. There are a ton of episodes and seasons of this show, and it got a massive fandom. The show came out in 2010 but was cancelled in 2013, only to be brought back later. This was one of those fandoms that was just kind of unavoidable, since there was a ton of fan art and just general love for the show throughout the internet. I I remember always seeing people with profile pictures of the characters back in like 2013, 2014, and it's very nostalgic to see them again nowadays. Super Mario Logan. Super Mario Logan, otherwise known as SML, was a YouTube series where kids basically just played with Mario plushies and made bizarre and edgy stories with them. I'm gonna piss off a lot of people watching this, but I really didn't like this show back in the day, and I still don't really see the appeal, but I do remember seeing it around quite a lot. Mario plush videos in general were really popular back in the day and are really nostalgic nowadays, and Super Mario Logan was one of these Mario plush channels. Super Mario Logan had to be changed recently because Nintendo sued the creators of it for featuring Mario in the way that they did, which I think is pretty hilarious. Tourette's Guy. The Tourette's Guy was a mockumentary web series featuring a middle-aged alcoholic man who suffered from Tourette's. The series used his condition for comedic value, and a lot of his videos have kind of lived on in meme culture to this day. The man, Danny, actually did have Tourette's, but kind of acted it up for comedic value. There are rumors that Danny passed away, but people are still kind of unsure about this. Spencer's. Spencer's is a chain of stores formerly known as Spencer's Gifts. The name will make you think that it's one of those boring clothing stores that your mom would take you to, but it's actually the complete opposite. It's kind of like Hot Topic, but like X-rated. It has your average alt-emo stuff, including t-shirts and random merchandise, but they also have things like lava lamps and Halloween frankincense. Yeah, and then there's also the back. If you know, you know. Long story short, the back of every Spencer's store gets inappropriate, and if you're a kid, don't go into the back. Or don't really go to Spencer's at all. But of course, that's up to you. Marble Hornets. Marble Hornets was an ARG-style found footage series on YouTube based on the concept of Slender Man. Unlike most creepypasta-related things, these videos were genuinely pretty cool and pretty creepy. The series freaked the hell out of a lot of kids back in the day, and a lot of them thought it was indeed real footage of Slender Man. Tobuscus. Tobuscus was a YouTuber who made Let's Plays, vlogs, and most infamously, songs. His channel was massive and watched by thousands of kids, despite his content being a little inappropriate for some. Tobuscus' legacy has kind of been ruined after an ex-girlfriend accused him of doing some really, really awful things, but a lot of his songs and videos still live on in the memories of Gen Z children all across the world. Zaboomafu. Zaboomafu was a live-action animation mixed kids show that aired from 1999 to 2001. The show featured the Kratt brothers and a lemur named Jovian. The show was really, really beloved by kids at the time and educated them on wildlife while keeping them solidly entertained. Moshi Monsters. Yeah, this one hits close to home. Moshi Monsters was an online kids game where you could control cute little monsters that you could customize and take care of. The world of Moshi Monsters was one of creativity and joy for so many kids. Moshi Monsters was one of the more engaging games of this style, having a membership where kids could become super Moshis and go on these superhero-themed adventures that ended up changing the story of the game and would affect the map. Of course, the membership was paid for by parents. There was also stuff like the ice cream game, which if you played Moshi Monsters, you know how good that little minigame was. Moshi Monsters had this really smart gimmick where you could adopt these little pets named Moshlings, both in the game and at your local toy store. The game had some controversy when Lady Gaga sued them for having a Moshling character named Lady Goo, who was, obviously a parody of her. I remember Lady Goo being my favorite Moshi Monsters character as a kid, so hearing about this and seeing the Moshling get replaced was incredibly upsetting to an 8-year-old me. Moshi Monsters branched out into a DS game and also a movie, which is apparently not very good. Unfortunately though, in December of 2019, Moshi Monsters was shut down for good since Adobe was discontinuing support of Flash. The game had a great life and made many, many kids very happy. Like Club Penguin, fans did recompile the game, so you can now play Moshi Monsters rewritten for free. Logo Quiz Game. This entry's pretty self-explanatory. Logo quizzes were simple little games where you could see a logo, then type out what you thought it was. These were either just Flash games or, somewhere on Roblox or other websites. Pretty simple, but, a good source of childhood memories. Fancy Pants Adventures. Fancy Pants Adventures is a classic Newgrounds Flash game, and it's really one of the best out there. The game is genuinely good. It was a fast-paced platformer with really smooth animation and tight controls. I remember seeing a lot of kids playing this at the library on the computers that they had there, and always thinking it just looked awesome, but never actually playing it. Castle Crashers. Castle Crashers was a Newgrounds Flash game that was actually really good. So good to the point where you can actually buy modern versions of the game on the Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation. The art style is very Newgrounds, and the character designs are very cute and memorable. These characters have come back in recent times thanks to Friday Night Funkin', I think in mods, or they're officially in the game. If you couldn't tell, I don't know much about Friday Night Funkin', but they're in there somewhere, so, kids of Gen Alpha are now also probably fans of the characters. AMVs. This entry is referring to anime music videos, which is often just shortened to AMVs. So, these anime music videos were incredibly cringe and silly, and that's what made them special. They were essentially different clips from anime shows with rainbow filters and loud compressed music in the background. They were all over YouTube back in the day, since the people who made them genuinely thought they were the coolest thing. Seeing an unironic AMV brings back so many memories for me, and many memories for many others. America's Funniest Home Videos. America's Funniest Home Videos, or AFV, was a TV show that displayed a bunch of funny home videos that people sent in. At the end of the episode, the audience would vote for which video they thought was the funniest. I loved this show so much as a kid. The host, Dom Bergeron, always was really charming and had some great commentary. I would just sit there and laugh my organs out to all the funny clips of people falling. Good stuff. And I think this show permanently ruined my sense of humor, because, like, people falling over is really funny to me. Especially kids falling over, like that whole subreddit for it, that's what gets me. And I'm wondering if I never watched America's Funniest Home Videos, would I be the same way? But, I guess the world will never know. Brainpop. Brainpop was an educational website that hosted little flash cartoons that were, well, educational. But here's the thing, they were really fun. There were a couple of characters, but most memorable of which were Tim and Moby, a teenage boy and an orange robot. Surprisingly enough, Brainpop is still around to this day and is super classic. Great stuff. I'd recommend looking back at some of the old videos because they are incredibly nostalgic. The animation is so retro and early 2000s, but also you might learn something. Yo Mama. I'm sure you've all heard of Yo Mama jokes in the past, but this entry is likely referring to the Yo Mama YouTube channel, which was very popular, and many kids were big into all these videos. Some of the jokes weren't exactly appropriate, but that was kind of the appeal. I remember being at a local burger joint with a friend, just recounting Yo Mama jokes that we'd seen on the channel while thinking it was the funniest thing out there. Good memories. Lisa Frank. Lisa Frank was a brand of school supplies and clothing that had a really bright and colorful art style that radiated the 90s and early 2000s. The art in these products is just really nice to look at and gives such strong feelings of childhood memories, despite me not really owning or using any of the clothes or school supplies. There's just something really special about it. I don't know. Tell me if you guys agree in the comments, because this art just feels like very childhood-esque, and I'm sure that's the point, but they did it right. For Dummies. For Dummies is a book series that basically will explain things in a way that is simple and easy to understand, since usually the concepts being explained are very hard to grasp, especially in the way that you usually present it in a strictly educational sense. For Dummies helps simplify things and makes things less intimidating by presenting everything in a casual, lighthearted way. These were super popular in the 90s and early 2000s, so that's why they're here. Castle Miner Z. Castle Miner Z was a Minecraft knockoff, but what made it stand out was its use of guns and zombies. Nothing too special, but it was kind of popular, which is why it's here. Chicken Little. Chicken Little was a 2005 Disney CGI movie that retold the original Chicken Little story, only this time he's actually right about the sky falling. Turns out that the sky is actually part of an alien mothership that lands down and hits him. The movie is wild, and I personally love it. The movie's kind of one that is divisive to a lot of people, but I've always really enjoyed it just for the sheer bizarreness of all of it. The animation and the soundtrack alongside it are dated, and the references are dated, and I don't know, it's a very nostalgic movie. Chugga Conroy. Chugga Conroy was a Let's Player that was very popular back in the early 2010s. Something that was special about his channel was the man behind it all. His personality is what made his videos entertaining and memorable. I personally remember watching his Luigi's Mansion Let's Play, and I really loved it. I would wake up and watch an episode of it since I really wanted to play Luigi's Mansion, but I didn't actually have it. Claw machines. This one's pretty self-explanatory. Claw machines to a kid were the most exciting thing. I personally remember getting my first win on a claw machine in Mexico when I was like 2 or so, and since then I have loved them. An old themed restaurant by the name of Mars 2112 had a claw machine that had a really strong grip, and you could adjust it as it dropped, so it was really easy to win. I have many plush toys from that claw machine. Very good memories. CollegeHumor. CollegeHumor is a YouTube channel that made a lot of the site's most popular videos. They had live-action skits and animated videos that were a lot of fun. A lot of them were a bit inappropriate, for kids at least, but that didn't stop kids from watching them. They still make YouTube videos and actually have a streaming service alongside a TV show, so they're still going strong. Coraline. Coraline is a stop-motion animation movie that was based off a book by the same name. Coraline was really unique to say the very least. The movie was kind of terrifying to a lot of kids, and had some horrific themes and imagery. For a lot of kids, it was the first horror-style movie they saw, which makes it very nostalgic for some people. It's a great movie too. But yeah, if you're younger, you probably shouldn't watch it. There's a reason that it was on the childhood trauma iceberg. Roald Dahl. Roald Dahl was the author of some of the most famous and iconic children's books of all time. At this point, I feel like there's no way you haven't heard of at least some of his work. Roald Dahl was the author of books like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Matilda, The Big Friendly Giant, James and the Giant Peach, Fantastic Mr. Fox, and many, many more. His books are genuinely great, and they made me really happy as a kid. Also, did anyone know there's actually a sequel to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Yeah, it's a sci-fi space novel about Charlie, Grandpa Joe, and Willy Wonka in the glass elevator picking up where the last book ended. The story turns into sort of a survival horror story with these green aliens that our main characters have to fight off and escape while in space. It's really weird, but I personally enjoyed it back in the day, despite it being kind of scary at times. But yeah, Fur Affinity. Fur Affinity is a website devoted to hosting furry art. A lot of it is not safe for work. The dress. We're just gonna... That's so funny. We're just... Fur Affinity is like a sentence, if that. The dress. What color is this dress? Is it white and gold or black and blue? Well, in 2015, the internet asked itself that very question, and there was a lot of debate on both sides. I've never once seen it as anything but blue and black, but some people swear otherwise. Turns out the dress is indeed blue and black, so those who see it like that are technically right. For the people who see white and gold, it's actually more of an optical illusion. So I ask you all, what color is this dress? Leave what you see in the comments below. I don't know if we're gonna bring back this this whole dress thing, but yeah, I'm genuinely curious. I've never once seen it as anything but blue and black. Purple Place. Purple Place was a game that was pre-installed on Windows Vista and Windows 7. The game was cute and simple, featuring a variety of mini-games to be played. This home screen here is something of a liminal space for a lot of people. But regardless of this, the game is super nostalgic for kids who grew up using Windows 7 and Windows Vista. Cyberchase. Cyberchase was an animated TV show that aired on PBS Kids back in the 2000s. The show centered around a group of kids who were transported to cyberspace after using a school computer. The setting of the show was always really unique since everything was all computery and futuristic. My local Hall of Science had a room themed to the show for a little while, which I was pretty into as a kid. Syriac. Syriac is a YouTube channel that specializes in making strange, bizarre, and oddly terrifying videos. I feel like most kids that used the internet back in the early 2010s probably saw some of his stuff and were freaked out by it. Videos like Mao and Boogie Maths scared a lot of kids, and they ended up going into the childhood trauma iceberg, bringing that back up. A lot of this kind of is interchangeable. Syriac is still somewhat active nowadays, so I imagine this could be kind of something relatable to kids in the next generation. Pillow Pets. Pillow Pets was a line of plush toys / pillows that you could fold with some Velcro to change them from a toy to a pillow. This line of toys had commercials that would often play on the Hub network back in the day. I personally had a Pillow Pet back in the day and used it for years until it kind of fell apart. Domo. Domo is the official mascot of Japan's public broadcaster, NHK. The character made its way to the United States and ended up getting some merchandise. The character featured in some really cute and charming stop motions that eventually became popular with scene kids. I remember Halloween of 2008, Domo had completely taken over my local Target and I was so into it. I loved it.
I think you do.
OMG! Ah! I got Domo! I love Domo! Yeah! I want Domo!
Dork Diaries. Dork Diaries was the series of books that was essentially the girl version of Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I never read it because I'm a big boy, and big boys only read Big Nate. And, of course, Diary of a Wimpy Kid. But Dork Diaries was always really popular. I remember having friends that would bring the books over and just seeing them in the library next to the superior Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Eds World. Eds World was an animated series on Newgrounds that started in 2004 and was beloved by so many people. The show was on top of Newgrounds and garnered a massive audience. I remember seeing the show everywhere and people loved it. The creator of it unfortunately passed away in 2012, leaving tons of fans crushed. The outpour of support and love after these events is truly heartwarming. Elf. Elf is a 2003 hit film featuring Will Ferrell. The movie is about a human who grew up in the North Pole and worked as an elf for his entire life, leading him to think he was just a massive elf, until learning that he's actually a human, and then he travels to New York City to find his father, and hilarity ensues. The film is truly great, and, well, I mean, the first, 3/4 of it are. The end isn't great, but regardless, this movie's a total classic. Probably one of the best Christmas movies out there. Obviously, this movie's super nostalgic to those who watched it back in the day, and still watch it to this day. Microsoft Flight Simulator. Microsoft Flight Simulator is a game that originally released in 2006, but has been getting sequels and updates to this day. The game's a realistic flight simulator that lets you fly through different recreations of places on Earth. The game can be pretty calm and tranquil, and is really just a display of the realism at play. The game nowadays uses satellite data on where you're flying. So for example, if you're flying around New York in the game and it's raining in New York in real life, it'll be raining in the game, which I think is pretty cool. Microsoft Flight Simulator's older versions are also very charming and a lot more primitive, but lots of people grew up with them, and that's why they're here. Alright, so that wraps it up for the long-awaited part 3 of the Gen Z Nostalgia Iceberg. Sorry about the insane delay on this video. It was basically 6 months in the making, since the production was really confusing. The creator of the Iceberg, the best YTPer, made multiple upgraded versions of this Iceberg, and they're all really good. So I decided to start working on the newest version of it, which ended up proving to be really intimidating, because there are a lot of entries here. That, alongside the fact that I had just gotten a girlfriend within the first week that part 2 came out, my priorities kind of shifted. But don't worry, I'm back, and so is the series. I'm going to continue just working on the original Iceberg, since if we go to the new ones, it would kind of take forever to finish. I just want to point out that in the third version of this Iceberg, look at that! It's Mars 2112, and it's Captain Orion right there next to the Six Flags guy. That's awesome. That's really cute. So if you're here after waiting 7 months for this video, thanks for sticking around. Thanks for being patient with me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks again to the best YTPer for making this Iceberg, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Also, just this fan art right here is beautiful. It's really good. I love it. See you guys in the next one. Bye.